Thanks for tuning in. This is Dirt Bike Channel. I'm your host, Kyle Brotherson. We are at MotoXperts in Spanish Fork, Utah. And Kevin here, despite having a Dirt Bike Channel t-shirt on, has been putting the 2019 KTM 300 XC-W back together. I think when this is all said and done, he just wants to take it home because he's probably had the bike more than I have. He's done my suspension on it twice, and now we've done a top end on the bike. The reason why I wanted to do a top end on the bike is because it has 124 hours, 123.8, and this bike is a sweepstakes bike. The other reason why I wanted to bring it to him to actually have the thing looked over is because Kevin does this every day. Here at his shop, they're doing suspension services, they're doing motor work, and we wanted to see what the cylinder looked like and what the piston looked like on a TPI bike after well over 100 hours. We did not do anything with the oil pump until today. So the bike went 124 hours on stock piston, stock everything. Obviously I changed a few little parts here and there, but it was a stock piston, stock oil pump. And I wanted Kevin to take it apart and use his expertise and see if it looked okay. So Kevin, tell me what you noticed when the bike was torn apart. Did it look different than like a standard bike? What did you think?
It pretty much looked identical to any other well cared for KTM Husky 300 252 stroke. A little bit of blow-by past the rings, no major scarring, good color, good carbon buildup on top of the piston for a single track bike. Obviously it hasn't been raced or ridden at high RPM, so typically you get a little more carbon buildup on those pistons. But yeah, there were no signs of any kind of oil pump failure. So TPI or not, this is about what we expect out of a KTM 300.
So it looks like this bike was running a little bit rich actually on the top of that piston, wouldn't you say? Or do you think it's running okay?
That's just carbon buildup, and like I said, you get that from a lot of the slower technical riding when you're riding at a lower RPM. This carbon tends to burn off a little bit more when you're running desert or motocross where you're using the full RPM range. But these KTM 300s, typically this is what we see. Sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less.
So with 120, we'll just call it 125 hours, do you think this was about ready to be rebuilt, or could it have gone, what's your opinion? Do you think it could have gone another 20, 30 hours, or what do you think?
It could have, and I don't think that it would have experienced any failures or issues. But just judging by the blow-by, and then the rings, you know, they are a little bit glazed, so I'm feeling like it may have been down a little bit on compression, but nothing alarming here. You could have gone and ridden it, you know, 20 or so more hours without issue. What is the recommended, like if we're talking about best case scenario, how many hours would a guy riding single track want to take their 250 or 300? Do you think somewhere between 100 and 150 hours? Like, what's your gut feeling? And again, it all comes down to the maintenance and how well it's been cared for. When it comes to premix and oil, air filter maintenance, but most two-stroke 250s, 300s, you can get close to 100 hours or so. Single track riding. If you're doing desert racing, motocross, high RPM application, that's where that number will shrink drastically. So if you're doing a lot of desert riding, you might want to cut that close to in half. We were talking about
air filters a minute ago.
Yeah.
What's the most important thing to do? It isn't necessarily, you're talking about how important it is to have a properly oiled air filter and properly fitted, right?
Right. So when these bikes come in fairly new and we know they have low hours, and if they're blown up, that's the first place we go. Before even pulling the cylinder head off, pull the air filter out, and 9 times out of 10 you have debris, sand, dust down the intake because the air filter, maybe they used a spray-on filter oil and just didn't saturate the filter enough. I know a lot of guys will put a bead of grease on the lip of the filter. I could take it or leave it. As long as you're oiling the filter, fully saturating it, squeezing everything out, you should be in good shape.
Any other tips or tricks that people should know about when they're trying to keep their two-stroke running as long as possible? Or maybe actually another question that I have for you, because this isn't the first TPI bike that you've seen, are you at all concerned about the longevity of the piston/cylinder in one of these newer TPI bikes? What's your feeling on that?
Only in the event of an oil pump failure. We've done a couple of rebuilds on these TPI 300s where the oil pumps, for whatever reason, will stop working intermittently or altogether. Why that happens, I don't know. One of the things you mentioned, Kyle, is that you've been running the MotoX recommended, the KTM recommended injector oil in this bike.
MotoX Cross Power 2T. It's what I've run in all my TPI bikes, and it's been good.
So whether that plays a factor in it, it very well may, but that's the only other thing that we've seen cause failures on these bikes is oil pump failure or air filter maintenance.
And our cylinder looked really good. You said there was nothing wrong with the cylinder. You just ran a honing brush down it, yeah, and we were good there. You also actually cleaned it up though. What did you do to the cylinder here?
So we did a light hone, and then we vapor honed it. We have a vapor honing cabinet so we can make all your aluminum parts look brand new. So especially on these two-stroke engines, if it's been leaking sludge and oil down on the cases, we take that all right off and it looks brand new when we're done. So yeah, on your cylinder, we honed it, we measured it, and we went up to a B piston.
And the B piston is just about 1/1000th.
It's 1/1000th bigger.
Bigger than what the stock piston was. And we did that because obviously you've removed some of the material on the cylinder, and that just keeps our compression high, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, very good. So if somebody else wants to get their motor done down here at MotoXperts, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
You can call our phone number, 801-318-6213. You're welcome to stop by and make an appointment. But email also works. You can visit our website, and all our email information is up there also.
Awesome. Well, thanks. I wanted to thank Kevin at MotoXperts here for doing this work for us. Again, it was an awesome test. This is kind of wrapping up the test on this bike because it's giving it away here in just a short amount of time. So we went 125 hours on the bike, no failures at all. Except for the time that I blew a fuse at 5 miles of hell and was too dumb to diagnose it, so I had to drag the thing out. Forgot about that one. And now it's got a brand new top end in it, and we put our a new oil pump in the bike, so it's ready for at least another 100 hours for whoever gets it. And it's been an awesome bike. I'm not sure that I'm going to commit to any of these long-term tests in the future because it was actually kind of challenging to put hours on this bike when I'm trying to review so many other things. So it was a fun project to do, but it was an awesome bike, and now it's ready for another 100 hours. So thanks, Kevin, for doing your work on it. And we'll go put this thing away. Welcome to Dirt Bike Channel. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Kyle Brotherson, and today I'm at MotoXperts in Spanish Fork, Utah, and we have just, well, when I say we, I mean Kevin has just pretty much put that bike, not pretty much. I'm gonna start this whole thing over. Cut.